Hi, this is Joe. Today we're going to do a run through. We'll really blow through these picks that I've collected the past year and a half, but did not make it into the inventory because inventory was concluded a year and a half ago, so they haven't been placed there yet. And just giving you an idea of what we got going on here, what we'll be looking at. Moving back over here, let's start with Mosaics, unprinted picks. The rarest of the Mosaics are the D'Andrea crayons, made of French celluloid, according to Tony D'Andrea, which would be entirely consistent with the French's experimentations earlier in the century, around 1900, with different colors. These are the only Mosaics of their kind, and only D'Andrea was known to produce them. They're the most coveted and the rarest. These here. Moving into another error here. As you can see, it changes because we have these solid colors, and then these are translucent. Very rare large D'Andrea heart. Unknown manufacturers, unknown shape there. These are pattern picks. Most pattern picks occur, at least the most beautiful ones, most of them occur between the late 20s through the 1940s. Look at these striations. Look at that unusual shape there. D'Andrea was known to produce that shape, but so was another manufacturer, unknown, in Chicago. The reasons for that could be explained later. Various stripes, shapes. Previously it was believed that this type of heart was Japanese, and while the Japanese did make those, I'm entirely convinced they were copies of American Mosaics from the early 50s. Beautiful herringbone pattern there, herringbone. Again, most of these 1920s through the 40s. And here's a piece of celluloid. The celluloid actually has a date on it right there. 1932. It's a bit out of focus, but it's on there. So that gives you an idea of some of these gorgeous celluloids I just mentioned. So now we get into the most common grips, which are cork grips. And I just want you to take a look at the shoulders on these picks. Shoulders are the upper part, body, tip. These are very rare 1920 D'Andrea picks right here, all three of them. Not a D'Andrea. The Midwest manufacturer, most of these, all those in fact are D'Andrea. Moving down to corrugated picks. Here's an amazing pick, Japanese made, but it's a triangle with corrugation. No U.S. manufacturer produced triangles with corrugation. Here's some other variations in corrugation styles. As you can see, one style there, another one there, the most common D'Andrea style. And I collect plain picks too. Here's some white picks, all D'Andrea shapes, some going back to their 20s catalogs. And some picks just can't be identified. Here's just a few of those. But we know they probably belong to an earlier era, in particular because of their shape. Right here, this was popular amongst mandolin players. So we're going to move over to some more unprinted picks. We have this really thick, long mandolin pick here. It's a beauty. It doesn't have any flecks. Nice, deep, rich, dark color. And these triangles here are interesting because they all go from about 1900 to about 1925. We'll cover those later. Here's a rare D'Andrea 368.5 on a celluloid that would later be used by the Japanese. 1960s for this group here. I would never know that unless I had acquired a folk music center guitar pick from Los Angeles that was using that in the 1960s. So we're going to continue with our unprinted picks. Now moving up to the Germans here, look at this beautiful pewter case. The 1930s, when propellers were most common. There's the interior. A really gorgeous Hertum here. The 1930s again, not celluloid. Another Hertum, very rare. And this is Germany. Right here, this is marked Germany. These are Gots, 1950s up to about 1980. Another more German picks right here. Here's a really neat German pick with that type of grip there. And let's divert and authenticate that over in this 1926 catalog. Take a look at that. Take a look at it. There'll be a lot more authentication going on with the later videos. Moving up to authentic Tortoiseshell. I'll remind the viewer that it's illegal to buy or sell Tortoiseshell. These were acquired in other lots of celluloid picks and through trades with other collectors. Very unique corrugation style there. 1930s, 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 and all those again are to be found in catalogs. This amazing group of tortoiseshell, vintage of course, are Japanese stamped copies of real American picks. Americans produced these shapes predominantly, these two especially in the 1920s through the late 50s. And these are amongst the rarest because I've never seen these sort of Japanese copies till this year after 25 years of collecting. We have a very rare mandolin pick here, the type of which it is hand beveled, hand stamped, and similar copies could be found in catalogs going back to 1900. So that's one of our oldest picks here. Here we have variations of the Andrew Army Brown, some of them hand cut. Now we're moving down to variations of wheat straw, slow gin, whiskey on ice, flaming charcoal, coke on ice, just some of the variations for this period of time. And we know these occurred predominantly from the mid-40s through the 50s and early 60s because most of them have no printing on them. Some more gorgeous celluloids like the which you don't see anymore. And here's just some Japanese picks. They're unfiled variations on a theme in terms of celluloid. Three prominent variations are two-tone, three-tone, and red speckled. Well, let's take a look at one of my favorite picks on here. This is a very, very rare DeAndrea 362 variant right there, 362. Notice compared to a 351, they're not the same. Most folks would miss that, but I'm pointing it out to you now so you get used to the idea of noticing shape variations. Nylon picks, mostly 1960s and 70s. Spain right here. Italy, England. Some of the earliest nylon picks I'm aware of are this Beltone here. Completely unidentified nylon pick. Certainly looks old. Let's go look at some authentic DeAndreas. It's a gold stamp, a genuine tortoiseshell. This is going to be early 1950s, perhaps early 60s. And here we have original guitar craft pick around 1980, very rare, made of Vulcan rubber, also known as ebonine or ebonite. Here is that wheat straw. The wheat straw we find continues to at least to the mid-60s. And since this is a printed pick, we know it probably from the mid-50s to the 60s, as printing predominantly did not occur for the most part before the 1950s. There were some really nice fonts here on the Fred McCord because you got that cursive that became popular when Fender did it in the mid-50s. Milton G. Wolfe pick, one of which was found in the case of Buddy Holly's guitar case at the crash site when he died. Very rare flaming sunburst orange. And this one has been hand cut here. Pen for Panino, looking at late 50s through the 60s. PB White's not too important, but it's vintage, so I've collected it. Now, we're going to move over here to some Gibsons, and hopefully we could get a better view on these impressions, because these are impressed picks. And you can see that impression there, impressed, 1940s. All these are going to be approximately 1940, except this one and this one, which are 1930s. And here's some Gibson printed picks. Nice wheat straw variation here, probably early 50s. late 50s, 1960s there. And just a few fenders right here, no registered trademarks, so we're looking mid-60s to 1971. Same thing here. Here's the earliest of fenders right here. Here's what you want if you're going to find fenders. That's the spaghetti logo, 1955 to as late as 1964. These would be 1950 variations based on their celluloid style. And just some interesting fonts. Fonts are something to take note at because they give you a clue as to the era. And as you can see, those just look like very basic fonts taken off of a typewriter. Moving over to packaged picks. National. These were Nationals were made in Japan. Late 60s to 70s. It includes every variation of the National in this packaged unopened pick. DeAndrea Bullseye, 1960 to the early 70s. Numerous variations of that. Gene Lease, the Los Angeles guitar instructor, popular in the 60s. A Galaxia. Why do I have two Galaxias? Well, because the picks inside have variations in their shell tone. You can see there. Again, I apologize for the lack of focus. Here's a duo pick. Original packaging. The duo pick could be seen announced in a Grossman catalog from 1967. And finally, a Gibson container, pick of the stars. There's a great copy of a Les Paul pick, late 1950s to very early 60s. And then we don't see those no more. So that's a fast run through. There'll be more videos released. It'll be much more refined, much more detailed. Here's a stroll through a catalog of catalogs ranging from the 1800s to 1980s. But this is some of our resources, in addition to trademarks, patents, and other dates determinations simply by extrapolation, which we'll examine more in other videos. So, hey, I'm glad you had a chance to take a look at this. I wanted to make it brief, but I'm sure if you're new to this, many of these you have never seen. Thanks. My name's Joe Macy, and you'll be seeing more of these videos with a lot more detail and hopefully better photography. Take care.